Hello, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys. You are now entering Season 2 of the Swan Hockey Podcast. Swan Hockey is flying around the junior hockey world one episode at a time. You'll experience things dreams are made of, as well as things of terrible nightmares. Strap in, hold on, and enjoy the ride. And now, Swan Hockey.
The NHL draft is one of my favorite times of year for a couple reasons. One, it reminds players and everybody that, or it proves to everybody rather, that it's not about a certain league. Too many players, too many young players and parents get caught up in chasing certain titles, certain leagues, where the key is it's not about one certain league. It's about the top of every league. And that's proven every year at the NHL draft, right? Like they're not taking all the guys from one league. They're taking the top guys from many different leagues. So that's one thing about the NHL draft and this time of year that I love, is that it reminds people of that and proves that to people that, hey, it's about the top performers. It's not about a certain league. It's about being a top performer somewhere. So that's the first thing that I love. The second thing that I love is it kind of, again, reminds everybody of the ultimate goal of to play in the NHL. Like a lot of guys get distracted, I feel, by different, whether it's marketing from leagues or different things, where it's a time of year where it reminds everybody that, hey, 2007s just got drafted to the NHL. And obviously we're talking about the top percentage of player here, but it's a good reminder to a lot of players that, okay, 2007s just got drafted into the NHL. So if I'm a 2007 that is kind of losing their head a little bit, thinking that, hey, I'm a point per game in the NA, I'm set, or I'm dominating U18s, and because of that, I'm not going to call this coach back. I'm too good for him. It's again kind of a ego check, a reality check of, hey, how good is too good? There's kids your age that just got drafted into the NHL, and just like we talk about a lot, like you don't want to compare yourself to anybody else but yourself. So it's not about comparing yourself to those players that are that are just getting drafted into the NHL, but it's about comparing yourself to yourself that's saying, hey, I'm eligible to be drafted in the NHL. Here's where I'm at. Let me, again, be proud of where I'm at, but remember what my ultimate goal is and keep working my ass off. Don't ever get content or even worse, have an ego. Keep working my ass off and being a good person and working hard to achieve my ultimate goals. So those are two things that I really love about this time of year and the NHL draft.
Yeah, well, certainly, it's always an interesting thing because one thing is it only takes one team to like you. That's the most
100%.
Important issue for players to understand. And, does the league you play in mean something to a point? For this level, absolutely, to a point. It has to be a certain level league, but after that,
yep.
You could be in any league if you're a good player, but obviously if you're playing junior B hockey, you're not being much. But on the other side of the coin, if you're in one of the top leagues, if you perform well enough, you'll get picked. Can it impact where you're picked? Well, a little bit, yeah. The better league you're in, the better you do. Obviously, that'll help you. And
sure,
of course, performance is everything. You have to perform in any league. You're not going to be able to be a non-performer in a good league and still get selected. That's not going to happen. So it's a matter that you're dealing with, a lot of reminders. But one big thing that people always have to understand about drafts is it only takes one team to like you. It doesn't matter if you're liked by every team or not, because if one team likes you, I remember back in the 80s, used to have a saying that he only could play in Boston because the Bruins had a habit of picking players, and a lot of them did play there that normally a lot of other teams didn't like. But they fit it
sure.
into their system, fit into their rink, and it didn't matter if in those days, if 20 other teams weren't high on you, if the Bruins liked you, you're fine.
Yeah. And again, that's true at any level, right? Whether it's the NHL or, various levels of junior hockey and whatnot, it's true of any level. And, let's talk about your team. So Kitchener Rangers, right? You guys had a pretty successful draft. You guys had four,
which is pretty good.
Yeah, four guys taken. You guys had one in round 1, one in round 3, one in round 5, one in round 6, and one in round 7. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Like what, and what you guys are doing there in Kitchener for players that's, producing this output and making it, one of the most desirable locations in the world for junior hockey.
Well, a strong part is we have an excellent program, an excellent coach, excellent general manager. Those are all big parts. We have a very good, great ownership. Our owners are, it's actually a town of Kitchener, and we're publicly owned, but they do a great job of supporting us and taking care of us. And its organization really starts at the top and goes right on down from there. I think that our coach has done a tremendous job. Some of these guys that, he really took to another level, and they've gotten themselves, into a situation where they're now NHL picks, and and it all starts with also the talent you're bringing in. We brought in some talented kids that could be worked with for good material and developed. So anytime an organization produces players, it's never one thing. It's an entire group of things coming together.
Yeah, for sure. And it all starts with you guys as the scouts, right? Like, it's all about getting, from the very beginning, getting the right potential talent into the organization, right? And like, obviously you and I have talked a lot on the podcast, in terms of scouting and, all that kind of stuff over the last year. And, it's, nice to see the results come draft day. And, Leo with the Moncton Wildcats, and, another guy very involved with Swan hockey, and they had a player go 4th overall, right? So it's nice to see these things happening and see, and again, like, it all starts with the scouting process, right? Identifying the right potential talent that can be developed into an NHL draft pick or into an NHL player.
Well, we're certainly an integral part, but I can't emphasize enough it's a team effort, because in the end, 100%. You have to have the ownership that'll give you the support. You have to have a good general manager that's going to take your information, execute it, and get the players signed, and also get the assets for you, get the draft choices, and manage those assets well. And of course, your coach is such an integral part. He takes that raw material of a player and makes that player a better player. And how much a better player? So much of it comes back to the coaching. So it really is a team effort. Hockey's a team game. There's never any one person or group that is the key, but certainly we're an integral part of it, obviously, yeah, because we're the guys on the ground that look at the talent. But as I say, if we have the support, have the people that manages those assets and takes all that information and uses it well. And if we don't have that coach that's going to take that raw material, it can all fall apart quickly. Sure. And even the training staff, keeping these guys in good health, that's an important thing. They're vital guys.
Absolutely. And how much projecting like that are you guys making at that level? Like, when you're looking at a kid and it's like, okay, we want to decide if we're going to bring him to Kitchener or not. Is one of the criteria that you're looking at, okay, we think we could turn this kid into an NHL player? Like, are there situations where you're looking at a player and you're like, okay, we could bring him to Kitchener. He's going to be a good player for Kitchener. Not great, but good. But you know what? He doesn't have it. Like, we don't believe he has it. We don't think that he could play in the OHL today and be good, but we don't believe that he's a potential NHL player. So if that happens, do you pass on that player? Or sometimes do you pass on that player? Like, is that part of the criteria?
Well, yes and no. I mean, you want the best player, and obviously the best player is typically a player that has pro potential. But at the same time, there are some guys, that you're saying we're not sure how much of a pro he's going to be. We know he's going to be a great junior player. And so certainly those guys end up coming too. And you never know, because you become a good junior player, you never know you can be an NHL player. It's just that, obviously some guys are more likely pro prospects than other guys. I don't think you go through a junior draft in any draft in the world and say every single player you take is a likely NHL player. There's so few likely NHL players in the world. But you take guys that are potential NHL players. Certainly when guys that could potentially play in the NHL, and you hope for the best. Certainly, when I go to a rink, I'm thinking, especially drafting Americans, I'm thinking, can this guy play pro someday? Because remember, Americans are a little bit different for us. We tend to look for elite level Americans. And a big thing for me is, yes, can he be a pro? Because it'd be a big investment. And with Canadian kids, certainly the higher picks, you're looking at, can he be a pro? But when you get to the 15th round, you're saying, he may have some pro potential, but you're also saying certainly he's not got the same pro potential as a guy taken in the first round. So the best answer to that is yes, but at the same time, it all starts out to, can he play here? There's some guys who are never going to be perfectly good NHL players down the line, but they can't play major junior right now. They're late bloomers. So for us to bring that player in, it doesn't do a service for him or for us if we can't play him when we bring him to to town. I mean, he can't play in our lineup. That doesn't do him any good. And certainly him struggling isn't going to do us any good.
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
So therefore, there are some perfectly good NHL prospects. Like, there are some really Goliath kids out there, right? They're big kids, but they are very much long-term prospects. Will they develop overnight and be able to play major junior right now? Probably not. But on the other hand, you give them 5 years. Oh, they'll be damn interesting. So you might want to sit there and consider, can I draft that guy, and does it do any service to him or to us? There are other players, on the other hand, that may not be that guy that you say, wow, he's that 6'6" kid, but something, he can play well for us right now, and we'll take it from there. We're an excellent league, and look, we had a guy that was drafted out of our lineup this year that had a very slow start in major junior, but he got drafted today, actually Saturday, and so we have guys like that are going to develop, and that's what we're about, is development. So you're hoping to develop as many as you can. Now, nobody is going to ever say 100% of anybody's be developed. Like, you can't say in any league.
100% of anything is pretty much unobtainable. That's why, that's why, like, I kind of laugh. Like, sometimes, like, when people are telling players, oh, you got to give, or you got to get this to 100%. It's no different than anything else in life. Nothing's ever really going to be 100%. Get it to 98% and call it a day. Stop worrying about it. Move on. Get it to 98%. Move on to the next task.
It's time for the Season Pass Point Unlock code for Episode 6. The Episode 6 Point Unlock code is moving forward. Enter the code at www.swanhockey.io to receive your points. Season Pass is free to join. To join or to learn more, visit Swan Hockey Digital at www.swanhockey.io. And now, back to the show.
Every team does have this thing called a fourth line. And, if you're an NHL scout, it's not easy to take a fourth liner unless there's something incredible about that player. Just like NCAA Division I guy, looking at U.S. junior leagues, the guy's playing on the fourth line. And even like when I was working in the minors, I was looking at a fourth line guy in college hockey. I don't care what program it is, he's a fourth line guy. So how interested am I in a fourth line guy? How do I even know what type of player he is? He's playing 5 minutes. So I have no idea on what sort of player he is. So you're never going to hit 100%. But the one thing is, some of those fourth line guys of today are not fourth line guys tomorrow. And, in a couple of years, they might get very interesting. But I mean, it certainly is a factor. Do you look at a guy's pro potential? Of course you do. But so it's a 2-horse race. You look at a guy's pro potential, his potential help
and the potential right now.
Yeah, because for one thing, if the potential right now isn't there, how are we even going to market him or do right by him, and how's he going to do right by us?
Right. So it's a double-edged sword, and there's a lot that goes into it. Now, the OHL, so your league led the draft for junior hockey in terms of players drafted. So this year saw the OHL had 41 players selected. The WHL had 33 players selected. The USHL had 30 players selected, which we'll come back to that in a minute. And the QMJHL had 19 players selected. Now, the USHL announced like 53 or 52 or 51, something like that. But that was inflated. From the math that I did, they had 30 actual current players selected in the draft. So when they made their announcement, they included NTDP, which, yes, it plays in the USHL, but it's different. If it wasn't different, it wouldn't exist. And then they also included alumni, which also included NTDP alumni. And I find everybody's always comparing, so the USHL had a killer draft. They were awesome. But the numbers they announced were inflated, and they were, again, it was just inflated. And I find it fascinating, but I find it unfortunate too that everybody, including the USHL, it seems tries to compare the USHL to major junior, when in reality, I don't think it's a fair comparison. I don't think it's the same thing. It's not comparing apples to apples. The USHL, it's a different model. They have different budgets, right? They can't really compete with they're playing a different game in terms of what they're spending on the program and that kind of stuff. I think the USHL is phenomenal at what they do. And I think there's a lot of comparison to the USHL to major junior. And I don't think the comparison's correct. I don't think it's apples to apples, you know. And again, maybe some of that, you know, some of the objective might be, I mean, even going forward with these new rules, I still, the objective still isn't the same. The USHL is dominant at getting players ready for college hockey. The major junior, as you and I have talked about a number of times, their goal is produce NHL talent.
Well, there's a lot of differences. And like I say, alumni, look, we're going to get European players coming to us. We could include them if we want. Every European that ends up in major junior next year. We also can sit down. Like alumni, you know, again, that's kind of funny because you get the road to alumni, you're getting a little bit further down the line. And it's a marketing thing, and it's quite frankly the marketing people that do that. It's not the hockey people. And in the end, I think you got to look at the position of the draft. You know, major junior dominated the first round, and we're the most likely NHL players, first rounders. So
yes, it should have been like way over 50%. Like it was like should have been way over 50% of the first round of the draft was from major junior. USHL had two. They had two players. You know, three if you count the kid that I think he went to Edina High School. He played 10 games in the USHL, so 3 if you count him. But again, I mean, are you really saying that 10 games was the difference in the kid's development? You know, so 2 if you don't count him, 3 if you do count him. But they announced like the most players per team drafted in the first round. They had 2. Like, because again, they went by the inflated statistics.
That almost sounds like a typo. Most players per team. Because
no. That's what they put. That's what they put, and they were.
It sounds to me like there's an error that they put up there. It sounds to me like one of the kids in the marketing department put that up there and really didn't. They counted 8 because they counted the alumni and the NTDP alumni, and then they divided number of teams and the 8 and whatever, and that's how they got it. They said that they had, I think they said 0.5 players per team drafted, which was more than any other league. And again, like to me, like it's frustrating for two reasons, because it's one, I think a lot of players and parents will, for players and parents trying to navigate this, it's misleading, but also again, the USHL is damn good at what they do. Why can't they just be proud of what they actually did? It's incredible. They finished well ahead of the Quebec Major Junior League. Like the USHL had a great draft. It's all marketing stuff. And the point is, most parents are the higher end kids. They have advisors, and they know. It's not like it's going to deceive any of the top kids. It'll be kids that are never playing that league that are deceived more than anybody, if anybody's deceived, period. And the thing about it is, I think, in all honesty, there are 2 other things that come into play. First of all, major juniors get an awful lot of kids going to U.S. college now. Older kids and even some younger guys. I don't think you'd have a ton of draft choices ending up going there when they're drafted by the NHL, because they're awfully young and have a lot of high school issues and whatnot. Whether they'll be going or not on loss, I have my doubts. But the point is, right now, college hockey.
Wait, say that one more time, Bill.
Well, some of the younger guys in major junior won't be going to college that young because A, they're not done high school, or B, they're just not necessarily able to go for whatever reason academically, and so. Are we going to lose a lot of young guys? Not a huge amount, but the bottom line is an X amount of guys from major junior going to U.S. college now. Right now, the colleges are looking at the major junior kids first and foremost. No question. They're going up there and watching. And so you're going to have an increasing number of major junior players going to U.S. college. And a lot of those alumni figures will actually go to major junior, because you have guys that are being drafted out of college or ex-major junior players. And you have another issue that comes, because all you're having now is sort of an adjustment, a development system.
Right. So you're saying major junior, probably starting next year, they're going to start to inflate their numbers as well.
Well, you could.
Well, I shouldn't say inflate, just include the alumni and not make it incredibly known that you're including the alumni, at least on the surface level.
As I say, if you want to, you can. Whether they will or not is another matter. Now, as far as another thing goes, people have to realize the NHL draft, as you go down in the rounds, the rules are different for the different leagues. So when you go to a certain point where a player is less likely to make the team, remember, unless a major junior player goes to U.S. college, unless they've really changed that in the new CBA, you have 1 year to sign that player, to put a contract to arbitration. A guy that's purely going to college, you have 4 years, basically. You have till he leaves school, or if he leaves early, that plus 180 days. If you're a European player, you have him on the list for pretty much as long as you want. So you have a lot of
Did all that change yet, or no? I know they're talking about changing all that.
I haven't seen the new CBA yet. But the bottom line is,
from what I read, and again, who knows?
What I was going to say is the question is how the rules change. When a major junior player goes to U.S. college, I presume the rules will become the same as USHL.
Yes, I heard it's going to be the same rule across the board.
But yeah, except for one question. What if a guy doesn't go to college? There's a big issue. If a guy doesn't go to college, is that going to be the same or is it going to be different somehow? And that's a fair question. But right now, as I say, going into this draft, the rule was different. So, and so you get to a certain point in the draft and notice a lot of
strategy comes in.
Well, notice a lot of Europeans go lower because Europeans basically you own for as long as you want to own them. So Europeans are actually a very good thing to take in a certain round because, hey, you're not under a lot of pressure to do anything with them. So you can sit there and hold on to Euro. It's just a matter of how many spots you have on your reserve list. So it does come into play a little bit, on how you handle a player. And does college potentially, when a player goes to college, still you probably have a few more years of development. Probably, yes, you probably will. So some guys, if they'll end up going to college hockey, you get free development is what you're going to do with some of those picks. So it's not as much a matter of it being a better player, but being a better economic decision. So
the strategy behind it.
Yeah, so it plays a role. So again, you look at it honestly, and again, you look at the percentage chance of playing in the league. The best percentage chance of playing in the league are the first rounders. And the first rounders, you see where guys are from. Typically, they're from a couple of sources. They're from major junior, they're from Europe, or the USNTDP. And NDT also, remember, plays against the OHL All-Stars. It isn't really, you can't call it a USHL program for a lot of reasons. Yeah. Number one,
they didn't have a single first-round pick, which that was the biggest surprise to me. Like that kind of seemed like a letdown. Like
this year it was, but normally they do. Normally they have a lot.
Yes. That's what I was saying. It was a surprise to me.
They're an utterly different program. They're run very differently, play a different schedule. They have their training regimen. You can't compare any club team to what their training regimen is because they have complete control over players' diets and everything. And it's a different
That's what program. I'm saying. It's different. If it wasn't different, it wouldn't exist. They would just spread those players out across the league, but they don't because it's different.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Swan Hockey Podcast. We remind you that season pass points are available to listeners. For more information, please visit www.swanhockey.io. Until next time.